fantasy owners, he had a tremendous week this week. But even just from a football aspect, 16 targets. That means like 16 different plays he had the ball thrown in his direction. Obviously, that trust between Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson has to be tremendous. He's targeting him more than almost double the second leading receiver. And you have Adam Thielen and TJ Hawkinson and Dalvin Cook. Like, those are three phenomenal football players, and he's still throwing the ball more towards Justin Jefferson. It just proves his skill among other teams in this league.
This makes me wonder, are the Vikings now considered a legitimate Super Bowl threat? What do you think?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you have a top-tier offense, top 5 offense, and if you're scoring, your defense just has to stop the opponent a couple times in the game, and you're good to go.
All right, we'll leave it at that for the moment. We're going to take one quick break, but stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Over the years, we kind of realized that you can get ribs anywhere. You can get a steak anywhere, but you can't always get a Mountain View hot link like ours. So we really decided to focus on that niche and realized we had something really special. So that's when we started focusing more on the hot links, but it's still the same family recipe they were making all those years ago. For us, many of our people that work here have been with us for years and decades. So whereas machines kind of break down over time, the people just get better. And it shows in the products we produce. When you buy a Mountain View product, not only is it going to taste dynamite, but you're also feeding Oklahomans. You're helping employ Oklahomans, and you're helping to fund the state's economy. So what's better than that?
We use the very best of the best ingredients. Demerara sugar is the best there is. Very high quality fruits, berries. The milk we use is the best milk there is. That's why it makes our product stand by itself. I like to make yogurt because I like to eat yogurt. We've been doing this for ourselves for many years because it's a tradition in our family. And we want to have a product which would be very similar to French yogurt, but with our touch of uniqueness, linking our name, our products, with the reputation of the Made in Oklahoma Coalition was probably the best thing we have done as far as promoting our product.
All right, welcome back to the Roundup. Let's continue our discussion on the NFL right now.
All right.
Meanwhile, for the AFC East, the Bills are no longer in first place at the moment. They sit a half game behind the Miami Dolphins, 6-3, and the Dolphins are 7-3.
Mm-hmm.
If the playoffs began today, you know what this would mean? All 4 teams would make the playoffs. Dolphins would be the 2 seed behind Kansas City, and the rest of the teams would follow suit in the remaining wild card spots.
Right.
Did we ever see this coming, that the AFC East would be the most competitive?
Oh, not by a landslide. I mean, you look back a couple of years ago, and the Dolphins are that run-over team that, everyone just kind of marks as a W on their schedule. But the speed in Miami is unreal. I mean, you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and they are both in the top 4 among the league in receiving yards. You have Tua, who has proved almost all that doubters and haters wrong. He's been able to sling it just fine. And you have that backfield of Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr., who are both speedy backs that also have the option to become receiving backs if necessary, kind of like a CMC scenario. And just that offense is incredible. And in kind of the same thing with the Vikings, if you have a great offense, your defense just kind of follows suit and just has to get a couple stops here and there, let the other offense make the mistakes, and just play on. I think the AFC East is arguably the best division in football right now.
It's certainly up there. The NFC East is close, but there's only one team that's not in playoff contention right now, that being Washington.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them obviously are. Now the Cowboys, who were one of the top teams early on, have now fallen to 6-3 after yesterday's collapse. They're 6-3, which puts them at third place as well in the NFC East, behind obviously unbeaten Philly and the 7-2 Giants.
Yeah.
We could see a lot of playoff teams from the Northeast this season.
Yeah, that NFC East has just surprised me a bunch. I mean, I was kind of low on the Cowboys going into the season, kind of rinse and repeat of the past couple seasons of, oh, this is our year, followed by, oh, this isn't our year. And I think they're on that same cycle again where, really they're looking really solid, really fundamental at the beginning. And now they're just kind of coasting downhill, kind of like that comfortability. They kind of got used to that winning and, lost to Aaron Rodgers, just not looking good for the Cowboys. And the Giants. Oh, I don't even know what to say about the Giants. I mean, you have Daniel Jones as your head honcho quarterback, Saquon Barkley, and then everyone else I feel like is our JV practice squad guys who are just kind of out there to have fun and play football, but they are by far the most underdog, surprising team of the year.
Absolutely. It goes without saying. They're 7-2. People were wondering if they'd even get 3 or 4 wins.
Yeah, I was one of those people. I didn't expect them to even beat Green Bay in London. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a different subject, but I mean, the Giants this year are just blowing everybody. They're not blowing everybody out of water. They are exceeding expectations.
They certainly have, and all I'll say about them is Brian Dable is easily, without question, in my opinion, Coach of the Year.
Oh, yeah, he's up there along with the Eagles head coach as well.
Certainly. There are a bunch of great names out there. I think Dable stands out the most, though, given that absolutely no one saw the Giants contending for the postseason.
That's true.
Yeah, you mentioned going to London before. Let's talk about overseas for a minute. This past weekend, we witnessed the first ever NFL game in Germany between the Seahawks and Buccaneers. What are your takeaways? What did you think about the whole atmosphere at Allianz Arena?
Oh, well, first of all, the game itself was good, but the atmosphere was amazing. I mean, first game in Germany, and they brought it. The noise was there, the fan interaction was there, the videos all over Twitter and Instagram and social medias were just, all the fans had smiles, all the fans were having fun. Normally you kind of get those live shots of fans and you have couples sitting in your seats. Every time they cut to the fans, it seemed like they were standing, they were having a great time, which just proves how much of a worldwide impact the NFL has, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Absolutely, I would too. And Tom Brady described it as one of the coolest experiences of his entire NFL career. Now that says a lot, given that he holds pretty much every record, and he has a whole list of accolades he's achieved. That's really cool, though, playing at a soccer stadium with that many passionate European fans, with everyone singing along to "Sweet Caroline" and John Denver in unison. That was so cool. I don't know if you saw that video.
Yeah, it was really cool. It just reminded me of everyone having a grand old time in Germany.
Absolutely. We'll definitely see more international games in Germany in the future.
Oh, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. It'll be certainly be very fun. Yes, it's safe to say we had a very, very fascinating week of the NFL, and we'll have to see where the season goes from this point on. We're going to take one quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere.
My name's Kayla. I've been here since the beginning, so 4 years. Scratch is more focused on farm and mostly made in Oklahoma products, keeping it local. Sustainability is our biggest thing. That's one of the reasons why this place opened.
I've been the chef here at Scratch for 2.5 years. Started here as a line cook. Our food and drinks are a bit separate entities almost inside the restaurant. So the food is now up to 85% of the products we bring in are raised or grown locally. It's all based off of things that I grew up eating in southern Oklahoma, the things my grandparents ate.
Fresh food, clean food, organic food, sustainability, that's all of our thing. From front of house to back of house, we're able to maintain both with freshness. But made in Oklahoma means we get it straight from the farms that are 20, 30 minutes, another little county away. We get it straight from them.
We would design something, it was set on the counter, and people was either, if enough of them said, this isn't it never made to the line. Dad was excited that they're all original. They were all designed on Mom's kitchen table, and it gets in your blood after a while.
We're very happy that Pamela and Michael have taken over the business and kept the family going.
We took the business over in 2017. When we found that it was available, we wanted to keep the legacy of family alive, but it was also incredible products that deserved to be a part of Made in Oklahoma's story. We were a part of Made in Oklahoma years ago, and so it kind of grew as Made in Oklahoma grew.
Oklahoma is ingrained into everything that we did. We've been here most of our life. That's what we entailed our whole business on, was the Oklahoma homegrown feeling.
Welcome back to the Roundup. Let's shift gears and discuss college football now.
All
The
right.
playoff race is beginning to heat up more than ever. The rankings will be revealed very soon. As of now, the top 4 teams obviously remain as Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, and just on the outside, Tennessee. What do you expect from the next playoff ranking reveal? Who will be in the top 4?
I think those same 4 teams will remain in the playoffs. I don't think you can bump any of those out considering they haven't experienced a loss. I mean, I think Ohio State and Michigan will eventually, fizzle each other out, playing in the game. But like from the outside looking in, Tennessee and LSU, they don't have enough credentials right now to just jump an undefeated team yet.
You don't think so?
Not yet. Maybe later down the line after, we have 2 more weeks in the season, and then you have your championship games. Depending on how some of those go, I can see, 5, 6, or 7, getting into that top 4. But as of right now, no.
So the SEC championship has already been set. It's going to be LSU versus Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if Georgia wins, they're the defending champs, the SEC champions, guaranteed in the playoff. On the flip side, if LSU wins, do you put them in the playoff with 2 losses as the SEC champion?
I love this LSU team. I think they're really fun to watch, which is what makes college football unique. Is a lot of teams, they can just go in there and we have upsets, galore. It's just a fun sport to watch, and this LSU team falls into that category. If they beat the Georgia, defending national champs, I don't see a reason why not to put them in. Alabama win, Georgia win. I mean, that's enough among itself. The 2, top dogs of the past couple of years, and you're beating them like that. That's just really impressive. I think that guarantees them a spot, depending on obviously Ohio State and Michigan will bounce each other out. So I think they'll get a spot if they beat Georgia and win out the rest of the year.
It's very interesting indeed, and that also raises the question of Tennessee, who's not even going to play in the SEC championship, assuming they have 1 loss at this point. Do they still get in? There's so many options here.
I don't like when teams don't play in their championship game and make it. That's just, I don't know, just something about it. Like, how are you supposed to play in the playoffs if you can't even make your championship game? I don't know. I personally would not put Tennessee just because they can't make it to the championship. Beating Alabama, at home, great. But then they go and play Georgia, and I just feel like it's not even close with Georgia. I don't put them in because they don't have that championship game credential. Whereas if someone were to go to that championship game and potentially lose, for example, Georgia and LSU, I would put both those teams in over Tennessee just because they made it to that championship game.
It's interesting you say that. I'm not a huge fan of putting in a team that didn't play in its conference championship or its like the SEC championship either. The one time this did happen, or the very first time it happened in the playoff era, was 2017 when Alabama got in, despite not even playing in the SEC title game, and they went on to win the championship. So it is possible that they could still win it in Tennessee's case this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree, I'm not a huge fan of that. I think if LSU somehow defeats Georgia, I think they've earned every right to go to the playoff, even with 2 losses. And the fact is, this is a great chance for the playoff to experiment with putting in a 2-loss team, which has never been done before.
Exactly.
They experimented last year with putting in the first non-Power 5 team. That obviously didn't work out. Cincinnati got crushed by Bama. I mean, who saw that coming, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, this would be a huge opportunity for the CFP to put in a 2-loss team. We'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I think it would be fun, I think there's some, Tennessee, if they don't win, people will be mad because a 2-loss team deserves, or that 1-loss team by record would deserve to go in over the 2-loss team. But all of this next year doesn't even matter. I mean, 12 teams will make it next year. So that will be even more, interesting and unique to see how some of these bottom tier teams, like Penn State and Clemson, who kind of get, neglected because of their 1 or 2 losses, to see how well they play.
Very, very interesting. We'll have to see how it plays out. I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot to watch for. We're going to take one final commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
My name is James Remedi. Fired Up Stilly is the name of the business, and I'm one of the owners. We all three met, the three owners, working as employees at a similar place like this. What I hope for is for everybody to feel welcome, like family. Not only do I want students to feel welcome to come here and study and use our free Wi-Fi, but also I want adults and families to be able to come in. We've built a connection with a lot of people, and Stillwater's a big community, so we just want to invite everybody to be able to eventually make their way through our doors. Well, definitely the teas, I would say. Most people fall in love with them. They just got a great amount of energy, gets you going through your day, and it just kickstarts you to get everything you need to done. For myself, it would just have to be, being the owner, owning something that, is able to impact other people's lives, and, the way we can affect our community is something that I really have always wanted to do. We love our clients and our customers that come through every day, and we enjoy getting to know them.
Hi, I'm Shauna here at Where the Buffalo Roam in beautiful downtown Pawnee, Oklahoma. We have a lot of beautiful and unique items for sale in the store, but our number one items are Navajo jewelry, Pendleton blankets, and Consuela. It's a great place to shop, a beautiful downtown, so come see us in Pawnee, Oklahoma.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Let's continue discussing the current AP poll, soon to be the new playoff ranking. Let's go back to the top 10 a little bit. Let's discuss the Big Ten, Ohio State and Michigan. Obviously, both teams are undefeated. They are currently second and third, respectively. Let's say who do you expect to come out on top in the Big Ten?
I expect Ohio State to come out. Both teams are very good. We saw Michigan make the playoffs last year, and then kind of didn't play up to the expectations. But this year, I think it's the same story, just with Ohio State. I think Ohio State's offense is arguably number one in the nation. I mean, they just have all the explosive playmakers they need, and their defense have played spectacular. I think they take care of business against Michigan, and then they end up winning the Big Ten championship, thus, going undefeated on the year and securing their spot in that top four once the national college playoffs begin.
Whoever runs the table and wins the Big Ten is certainly going to the playoff. This brings into question again, do you put in a team with one loss who didn't even make the Big Ten title game in the playoff?
I think
that's anyone's guess.
Yeah, I think that entirely depends on the other championship games. I mean, for example, the Big 12 and TCU. TCU can play a number of teams in the Big 12. Oklahoma State isn't out, Kansas State isn't out, Texas isn't out. There's a lot of parity right now in that Big 12 with OU not being as great as they always are, with Texas, not being great recently, but they have been historically. And it'll be fun to watch that Big 12 group compete to see who's going to play TCU. If TCU wins out and wins the Big 12 championship, guaranteed spot, guaranteed bid. If Ohio State wins out and wins their Big Ten championship, guaranteed bid. Georgia wins out, win the SEC championship, guaranteed bid. Then that leaves that fourth spot. Michigan, Tennessee, USC. If they win the Pac-12, that's a potential fourth spot over Tennessee with that championship game.
I don't see why you can't put in USC if they continue to win out. They only have one loss.
Yeah.
If they win the Pac-12, I don't see why they can't be included in the conversation. As of now, I wouldn't pick them to be in the top four because I do think other teams are better right now, but you never know. Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley have adjusted well in their first year out west.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to be seventh in the nation right now. I expect, obviously that little hiccup of new coach, new system for, Caleb Williams and Lincoln, but they both have adjusted very well, and I expect them to be a top 25 team, but not a top 10 team like they are this year, and even a Pac-12 contender. Like, this USC team ended up being pretty good, and compared to what, kind of what my preseason predictions were.
Yes, I think it's safe to say the rankings this year have not gone the way anyone expected going into the season.
Right.
I figured teams like Alabama and Clemson, who are usually at the very top, would continue to dominate. that's kind of off the table right now. I don't think Clemson's making it even with one loss.
Yeah.
In the ACC, their roster is not nearly as strong as other teams outside the ACC.
Right. I really didn't like Clemson to begin with this year anyways. I mean, they were 5 for majority of the year, even 4. And I just thought they weren't as good as what the AP polls were making them look to be. And I'm glad that they finally dropped. Same thing with Alabama. This roster hasn't been what it's historically been. And that's why I think they're both out of playoff contention. You know, especially Alabama. They can't even make the championship game, which is why they're out 100%.
Obviously, there's a lot to be played for. But if the season ended right now, who should be in the playoff? Who do you think?
If the season ended right now without championship games and no more games played, I think the top 4 should stay the top 4. All 4 teams are undefeated. All 4 teams have beat ranked opponents. All 4 have shown their offensive and defensive, superiority over the other teams that they've played. They've had impressive road wins and impressive home wins. And I think that they should just stay the same, Georgia beating Tennessee. Tennessee stays at 5 because Georgia beat them.
Things are subject to change, obviously. I doubt Ohio State and Michigan will make the playoff at the same time. As you said, whoever loses the Big Ten will have to have a lot go their way for other teams and other conferences losing, such as USC, TCU, etc. So I agree with you. Right now, the top 4 teams should be the top 4 in that exact order, given, like you said, they're undefeated and their strength of schedule shows how dominant these teams are and how capable they are of each winning a championship.
Right.
So certainly a lot to watch out for. And if the playoff began today, the matchups would be Georgia TCU. I expect Georgia would probably win that, you think?
As much as, we love to see Big 12 teams make it. We've seen OU in the past, and then we've seen OU have close games and OU not have close games, which is it's kind of bad for the Big 12 for a team to make it and then not be able to compete against Georgia. Because that kind of, throws the Big 12 like, oh, if they make the playoffs, they're not even going to make it, so why put them in there? And I would really hope that TCU would just have it close to Georgia within at least 2 scores to show some sort of Big 12 credibility for how well these teams are. Obviously, we all expect Georgia to win, but I would hope that TCU would make it close. Same thing with Ohio State and Michigan. Big Ten has credibility because we've seen Ohio State and Michigan have success. But I think Ohio State would win that game just because they're offensive, explosive playmakers and their defensive ability to have those turnovers.
Could be a very, very compelling national championship come January.
Exactly, and I'm excited for it. I think this playoffs will be even better than last year's. And last year's was a whirlwind between Alabama, Cincinnati, Michigan, and Georgia.
Oh, I agree. It'll be way more interesting and more fun this year, to say the least. All right, well, that will wrap up today's discussion. Thank you again for joining. Appreciate it.
Of course. I had so much fun, Griff. Thank you for having me.
Of course. That'll be a wrap for today's episode. Remember to stay tuned on Macaulay TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Griff McClellan. Have a great night, and of course, as always, go Pokes.
Hi, I'm Amanda Akins. I'm the owner of Hurricane Dixie Leather. I started this company back in about 2015, and I think that one of the most unique things about our store is that we're not just your everyday mom and pop leather shop. We use a lot of color and unique techniques that set us apart from others. We are a full Wrangler retailer. We have lots of Wrangler jeans and shirts. We've also got some other fun boutique-y clothes, and everything, all the leather goods in the store are made here in the shop. We also accept custom orders.
Our state is one of the most beautiful and unique states in the USA. With diverse geographies, the historic Route 66, unforgettable restaurants, and some of the greatest people on the planet. With so much to see and so much to do, living in Oklahoma means one of the best vacation spots is right in our own backyard. Doesn't this story need to be told? As filmmakers and photographers